Hello everyone, this is Puka and welcome to another edition of Bad Deck Monday, where we're going to take a fun concept, see if we can run with it, and I don't know, you never know what'll happen on Bad Deck Monday. So today we're going to revisit an old classic bad deck, Crussell, but unfortunately its partner in crime, Reuniclus, has rotated out of the standard format. Oh, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to try to make it work anyway. So Crussell, if you don't remember, has this beautiful ability, Sturdy. If it has full HP and would be knocked out by damage from an attack, it's not knocked out, and its remaining HP becomes 10 instead. So it's very similar to that card Focus Sash. That's actually the exact same thing, except it's the ability instead of a Pokemon tool. So the only way to shut off Sturdy is by using Garbodor. But, Focus Sash can be discarded by a Startling Megaphone, so Sturdy is way better. Anyway, so the idea is to just get an unstoppable Crussell. There are many, many ways to stop it, but if your opponent doesn't play any of the many ways to stop Crussell, it is unstoppable. Stone Edge is not a great attack. 70 plus 20 if you flip heads. Not going to be particularly strong, but we're going to make it work, because if he can't die, if your opponent can't knock him out in one hit, he will slowly wear you down with his Stone Edge. Alright, so we have a 3-3 Crussell line in this deck, and our replacement for Reuniclus is going to be Dusknor. Shadow Void. We're just going to take the damage off of Crussell, move it over to Dusknor, and that's pretty much going to be it. It's not quite as good as Reuniclus's damage swap, which would allow us to move damage anywhere, but it's all we got. That's pretty much what we have to work with. So we have a 3-2-2 Dusknor line, and then one Sinister Hand Dusknor as well, because, well, if you're playing a Dusknor line, seems like a good idea to play the broken one with the Sinister Hand ability. So we have this 3-2-3 Dusknor line along with 2 Rare Candy as well. Heavy line. And then the thing that's going to stop Hypnotoxic Laser from working on our Crussell is Virizion EX. Verdant Wind, of course, blocks special conditions, so one of the ways to get around Sturdy is to poison Crussell and then knock it out that way. Sturdy doesn't stop poison damage. So, there we go. Pretty simple partner for Crussell, since it takes 2 fighting and a grass energy. The third energy we're going to use is a grass. Shuts off laser, and that's the idea. You also have a Mr. Mime to block some bench damage. Seems like a good idea. We have a lot of low HP Pokemon at the start of the game. And then we need some big bodies in the front to buy some time as we build up Crussell. Now this might seem like a cheap way out of a Bad Deck Monday idea, but it will certainly make the video way less painful to watch. Trust me, you don't want to have Crussell and then just a bunch of low HP Pokemon getting knocked out, and then you lose immediately. So we're going to have one Mewtwo EX. We don't even have Double Colorless in this deck, but you never know if we can pull off an X-Ball, and then one Landorus EX as well. Can attack for 1 energy, and again, just a nice big 180 HP Pokemon to buy us some time as we build up the 3 energy cost Crussell. Of course, Hammerhead, pretty solid as well. Alright, so our trainer engine, we have lost Level Ball, we have lost Tropical Beach, and that's going to make this deck a lot more difficult to power up and set up. Oh man, this is so much more, it's just, the only way I can describe it is, Setting up this kind of a deck becomes brutal in this format without Level Ball and Tropical Beach. So we do have to run 4 Pokemon Fan Club to search out our basic Pokemon, because we can't just be Ultra Balling for everything. We would run out of resources way too quickly. Then we have 4 Professor Juniper, 4 N, 3 Colress, and then a Skyla, just to have another supporter in there, and a Lysander as well. Then the good old Dowsing Machine. For the item cards, we have 2 Ultra Ball to switch, since we have a lot of high retreat cost things. A Startling Megaphone, just in case. We already saw the Rare Candy. 3 Max Potion, this is what we're going to use to heal off our Dusknor when it's moving damage to itself. And then 1 Evo Soda, since again, we don't want to be Ultra Balling for stuff if we don't have to. Energy, we're going to have 4 strong energy. This is going to help Stone Edge do a little more damage. 5 grass energy just to make sure we have one for Verdant Wind. And then 3 fighting energy as well. We also lost Super Rod in this deck, which is pretty annoying, but hey, we'll have to deal with it. Sacred Ash, probably not worth playing. Super Rod was great to get back energy, but not a big fan of the Sacred Ash. But, alright, there we have it. Crussell Dusknor. Not quite as good as Crussell Reuniclus, but we'll see if we can make it work on Pokemon TCG Online. Come on, Crussell. Let's get it done. Alright, so starting off with a Landorus and a Mr. Mime. Pretty obvious that we're going to start off with the big Landorus EX right there. Not the greatest starting hand. We're going to have to Juniper away a lot of stuff, probably. Would love to top deck an N or something here. But top decked Ultra Ball instead. I suppose that's not the worst thing in the world if we have to toss the hand anyway. Might as well search for a Pokemon. So I'm going to go right for the big Dwebble. Get him out into play. And we can attach an energy. I have a couple of Crussell in the deck, so I'm not going to worry too much about playing a Juniper and discarding one of them. The idea here is to tank a Crussell. At most, you're probably going to get 2 of them powered up in a game, so I don't really mind discarding one with that Juniper right there. Okay, so fresh hand of 7. Not a great hand. We'll work with it, though. We got a Crussell. We got a strong energy. We got Mr. Mime blocking some bench damage off that Landorus of my opponents. Okay, things could certainly be much worse, and we'll see what we can do with this. Still, not sure what my opponent is playing. You know, we have Landorus EX. That could mean all sorts of things. It could mean a Donphan deck. It could mean a big basics Garbodor kind of deck. It could mean a Machamp kind of deck. It could mean a Crussell kind of deck. That's probably the most unlikely scenario, but it could mean a Crussell deck too. But we do see a Mewtwo EX and a Fighting Stadium. I'm going to guess it's just like a big basic Garbodor kind of deck, and that's really not what we like to face because Garbodor is a giant pile of garbage, and we don't like facing him because he shuts off everything in the deck. And I don't like when everything in my deck is shut off by a single card. But anyway, we see a Karina from the opponent grabbing a regular Landorus. And we'll get to see what item card my opponent wants to take as well. We saw a random receiver into the Karina. Probably not what my opponent was hoping for there. Maybe a card like a Juniper or an N. Probably my opponent would have preferred that, but got stuck with the Karina. And gets the Karina for the Bicycle. Benches the regular Landorus down there. And still 5 cards, so a Bicycle going to be a little difficult to use. Puts the Float Stone onto the Landorus on the bench. And a Bicycle for 1 card. And oh, just to pass up the turn. Alright, so now my hand, it's still bad, but it could be worse. We're going to take this opportunity now to put some damage on my opponent's field. We're going to attach that strong energy to the active Landorus and give him a taste of his own medicine, Hammerhead, 70, and then 30 to the bench Mewtwo EX. This would be great if we ever get the Sinister Hand Dusknor into play. Got a lot of damage to play with, and it just seems like a great opportunity there, especially since Landorus shouldn't be getting knocked out this turn. I can still attach in Hammerhead and then have time to power up Crussell over the next 2 turns, and then once I do that, hey, we're pretty much all set up. I already got the grass energy on him. And we got a Duskull. We have a Dusknor in hand as well. If we can find a Dusclops or a rare candy, we can start using Shadow Void. And who knows what will happen from there. We got a Lucario EX coming out this turn. A Muscle Band on that bad boy. And then a Float Stone. Followed by another Bicycle. This time for 2 cards. And we'll see if my opponent can muster up anything this turn. Not a very fast start by any means. Missed the attachment turn 1, but here comes Lucario EX, and it looks like the Missile Jab for 70 damage. Alright, so I have the Pokemon Fan Club. We can search for 2 basic Pokemon here. I'm going to grab Mewtwo EX along with another Duskull. Seems pretty decent. And I have 2 options here. Number 1 is to put the strong energy on the Crussell and go with him. And hope that I top deck a fighting or a strong energy next turn. Other option, put a grass on Mewtwo, and that way I know for sure I have a way to knock out this Lucario next turn. So I think I'm going to go that option since I don't have the fighting ready in hand. We're going to Hammerhead, do 70 again to the active. It is my fighting Pokemon is hitting a Pokemon EX, so taking advantage of the opponent's stadium, making me wish I would have played my own fighting stadium. I also considered training stadium. Is that what it is? Training center stadium. The one that gives plus 30 HP to evolutions, but it just gets countered too easily. But alright, I actually survived the turn somehow. My opponent did not have another energy, and I drew an N, so we're going to play it. I know this gives my opponent additional cards, but I need them a little bit more, I think. And we're going to go with the Hammerhead. 70 again, and look how much damage we have built up on board. This is a lot just from this one Landorus EX. So again, if we do happen to get Sinister Hand Dusknor out there, oh, he's going to be moving around. Lots of lethal damage, and we'll get some good stuff going. Some big multiple prize turns. But this Landorus right now is in a bit of danger. He probably will get knocked out this turn. And then I'm going to have to make a decision on who to promote. It'll probably be Crussell, and we'll go from there. Once we get him going and get Sturdy up, that Garbodor is a pain. I'm probably going to have to find a way to deal with it, so maybe I'll go with Mewtwo first, and then end up in a situation where I take out the Garbodor using a Lysander or the Sinister Hand Dusknor, and then it's all Sturdy all the way. Crussell is unstoppable. But I don't know. We got a lot of options here. I'm just happy that we haven't been overrun. This usually happens when you're playing this deck. You get overrun by quick Pokemon EX just knocking you out before you can set up everything, before you can set up the Dusknor, get the 3 energy on the Crussell, get some max potions going. It's just kind of a mess, but here we do see a Howlucha and an escape rope from my opponent. Not really sure what's going on here, but I will take it. I'm going to go ahead and send out that Mr. Mime, since I don't really think I'll be needing him much longer, and he's a non-EX that I don't really care about. And yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. My opponent passed up a perfectly good opportunity to knock out my Landorus EX, which, that seems like a good thing. Now he goes to the bench, and it's just, why did this happen? I don't understand, but let's roll with it. I don't know. We see the Landorus EX coming out, and it could Hammerhead, but it's only going to do 30, unless my opponent has a tool. Then he can do 30 to a benched Pokemon as well. That would be decent, I suppose. There we see the energy switch, moving an energy onto Landorus EX. So a very strange sequence of events here. Hammerhead for 30 on Mr. Mime, and he will block the bench damage. No tool on the Garbodor, so no Garbotoxin coming into play here. Top deck of Colress. That is the jackpot, ladies and gentlemen. A full 10-card Colress. Always got to feel good about that. 10 fresh cards, and so many options to work with. So I have a Dusclops, but I also have the Rare Candy and the Dusknor, and this could be a huge turn for Crussell, Crussell Dusknor here. Not the Dusknor I usually want to get into play, but I will take it right here. We have a lot of different options to work with. Number one, we could knock out 2 different Pokemon EX at once with a big Hammerhead this turn. That seems like a very reasonable option. But then Garbodor remains in play. And, with an N or something like that, I could easily get shut down. So we're going to probably take the double knockout on the active and then knock out the Garbodor as well, just to make sure I get my abilities for the rest of the game. Seems like a good idea. Going to power up that Crussell on the bench with the double strong energy. That is so strong. Now Stone Edge is doing at least 110 damage to everything. And yeah, we're going to Sinister Hand, move 10 up to the active, so Hammerhead will knock out this Landorus EX. And then we're just going to move 7 damage counters over to the Garbodor and go from there. So here we go. Sinister Hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just want to take a second to recognize the fact that they finally improved Dusknor's mechanic Sinister Hand does not take 3 hours to use now. Now it only takes about 1 hour. Just kidding. No, it's actually much faster, much improved, much needed improvement. We went way too long with Dusknor being the way it was, but much, much better now. All right, so damage has been moved. We can now get the double knockout with the Hammerhead and proceed with life. And here we go. Hammerhead 70 on the active, 30 to the Garbodor, getting rid of that thing once and for all. And now we're down to 3 prizes. We have a fully built Crussell on the bench. We don't have the Shadow Void Dusknor, so we are a little bit vulnerable to, getting knocked out in 2 turns by attacks. But, Crussell can plow through some stuff in 2 turns. He has a pretty formidable attack in Stone Edge now that there's 2 strong energy on him. And with that Sinister Hand, we can move damage wherever we need to. And just a good situation. I don't know what else to say. So here comes Hawlucha. Has the free retreat. Can retreat into anything he wants to. He could attack with Hawlucha. He could attack with the Landorus with Shout of Power. All sorts of options going on here. We do see Muscle Band going on to the Hawlucha. Probably not necessary by any means, but... And N is going to put me down to 3 cards. And there we see I got 3 pretty reasonable cards here. Juniper is the biggest one. Got an Evo Soda, which I can't really play, but yeah, this is looking pretty good. Even if Crussell does happen to go down eventually, gotta remember we have that Mewtwo with the 1 energy already. And we can easily just attach another energy and X-Ball for lots of damage, and works for me. Should be able to clean up our last 3 prizes. I'm pretty confident. Now, this has not been too much of a display on Crussell so far, as it has been Landorus and Dusknor, so I apologize for that, but Crussell is about to have his moment. He is about to Stone Edge this Landorus. Oh man, it's going to be ugly. So let's go ahead and drop the max potion on the Mr. Mime. Sheesh, I still have 30 cards in my deck. That is an absurd amount. Another Trubbish hit the board, so I'm going to go with the Sinister Hand. We don't want any sort of Garbodor happening right here. I feel like as long as I have Sturdy, I should be able to take my last 3 prizes. We're going to take one of them right here. Hopefully this is a Lysander, but it is not. If it is, I could have just used Stone Edge on the Mewtwo for the game. But I have an N or Juniper now. I can add my opponent down to 4. Then it puts me to 2. I think I'd rather just Juniper, get a fresh hand of 7. Seems like a much better option. So I'm going to go with that. Going to drop the fighting on the Mewtwo, Startling Megaphone, and then let's Sinister Hand 1 to the active just to make sure we get the knockout. Spread some damage out in case of Max Potion, and we're putting on a bunch of pressure here. Let's go for the Stone Edge. Got the heads. Didn't really need it, but I'll take it. Goodbye. Fists of Fury from a Stone Edge crab in a gigantic rock shell. I don't know how to describe Crussell. I guess there's crust on his back. But alright, what do you do about Crussell? He has 3 energy, 2 of them strong. He is sturdy. He is immune to Hypnotoxic Laser. There is no Garbodor in sight. He is a machine. He will not be stopped. And Crussell is a very formidable foe at this stage in the game. If you give him enough time to set up, he is tough to take down. Now, I do not have my Shadow Void Dusknor out, so just 2 attacks will finish off Crussell, but does my opponent have time to deal with 2 attacks? I don't know, guys. The double strong energy, the fighting stadium, got a Lysander in hand, we got all sorts of stuff to work with. I think my opponent has realized now there is an inevitable monster heading his way, and it goes by the name of Crussell. He will not be stopped. Here comes Hawlucha. See a Muscle Band going on to the Lucario EX. Even if he gets a strong energy, Sturdy is going to prevent the one-hit knockout. And what are you going to do, Lucario? I don't know. You don't have much to do here, especially with the Mewtwo sitting on the bench. You know, if Lucario attacks, I can just X-Ball. If Mewtwo attacks, I can just X-Ball. If a Landorus comes out and attacks, he's not going to knock me out. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. We see a chorus for 6 from my opponent, and that should pretty much lock the game up since I do have the Lysander sitting in hand already. And Crussell is going to go to town on this big basic Garbodor deck. Crussell still having some strength here. I don't know how to explain it. He should be awful. Most of the time he probably is awful, but we found our miracle game where Crussell is setting up and getting ready to go. You can see how difficult it is to set up all of this stuff. I was never even able to get the other Dusknor into play. But here we go. Corkscrew Smash, 80 damage. Not knocking out Crussell. And alright, we got the Lysander. I could retreat to Mewtwo and X-Ball for the game, but this is Crussell's show. We're going to bring out that Mewtwo and show him who's boss. It's not the EXs. It is Crussell. Let's Sinister Hand the 20 damage over to the Mewtwo. And here we go. Stone Edge with the Fighting Stadium, with the 2 strong energy. Doesn't matter with the tails. 130 damage. Fists of Stone Edge Fury. Knocking out Mewtwo EX. And Crustle Dusknor gets the win on Bad Deck Monday. Good game. Wow, what can you say about that? Landorus EX did a lot of the heavy lifting, but Crussell was the cleaner, and he was not going to be stopped. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Puka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.